and deliver. Can't you see that I'm all a quiver? That's, of course, from All I Want is a Proper Cup of Coffee, which is not what we're doing today. Today we're talking about originalism. And remind you, originalism says that the Supreme Court is supposed to interpret the Constitution not by today's standards, but not by the values of today, but by what it was originally said, the original intent. And one of the most foolish criticisms is, oh, so you're saying that we have to do everything like the 18th century people did? Let me read to you from the Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. And the answer is, well, we don't have papers anymore. I mean, I guess we do, but we have the internet, and of course, that's what the Supreme Court has to take into account the technical and the changes in what happens in our society, but it's not to take into account the change of the values of the society. And I think that's most clear. Let me give you an example. This is not a real example, of course, and then I'll give you a real example. Imagine for a moment that California had a law that said that only people who are legally married may have sex, and no sex outside of marriage. Is that law unconstitutional? And the answer is no, it's not unconstitutional. And you say, but Mr. Horn, that's terrible. Don't we have a right to privacy? And the answer is no. Well, hold on. Maybe you do have a right to privacy, but it's not in the Constitution. At least not in the American Constitution. And you say, but Mr. Horn, I saw it in the penumbra. And the answer is, yeah, no, you don't. There is no penumbra to the First Amendment wherein there is a right to privacy and to have sex. That's just not true. People are just making it up. And you say, but Mr. Horn, people have changed. We've changed the way we do society since the beginnings. And the answer is, well, okay, then change the Constitution. You want women to vote? Amend the Constitution. You want to stop everyone from drinking alcohol? Then amend the Constitution. You want people to be able to drink alcohol? Then amend the Constitution. So, one of the big arguments I have with the Supreme Court, especially with the originalists, is in a case called Heller. I think it's Heller versus District of Columbia, in which the Supreme Court said that the Constitution gives people the right to have a handgun for their protection. And I argued, no. That's not in the that's not in the Constitution. And they said, but of course people have the right to keep and bear arms. And I said, whoa, let's read this carefully, shall we? So let's read this. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, so all that comes first. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So as you read the Supreme Court case, let me have my pistol here. This will be a nice pistol. So when the Supreme Court decided this, they said that meant that people could have guns to protect themselves. It was a law about handguns in Washington, D.C. And my thought is, no, this right to bear arms is absolutely because of a well-regulated militia. Now, I would urge you to go read both the Heller case and the dissent. The dissent is fascinating. The dissent says it, and the dissent does it in a grand originalist style. It's kind of funny that the more liberal judges took such an originalist interpretation of this. But the dissent says that the Second Amendment was put into the Constitution because the national government was given charge of the militia. Again, when the Constitution is written, uh, we, we fear standing armies. But, of course, we realize that a standing army is really good. The militia did not work so well against the British. So there's both a fear and an understanding that there's a necessity for a standing army. But also the power of the president has power over the state militias. So one of the things that people were worried about, and remember the first 10 amendments were not 10 amendments that they thought this would be really good to help Americans. It was a SOP. It was something that they said, hey, you anti-federalists, look, sign the Constitution and we'll take care of all your problems. Tell us all your problems and we will resolve your problems through the first 10 amendments, we promise. And they do. And one of the problems was the anti-federalists were afraid that the federal government would disarm the militia, would say that all the weapons of the militia would have to be held by the federal government. So this was a SOP to those people who were afraid of that, saying, hey, make sure that you can't disarm the militia. So I would argue that the right to bear and keep arms is only as it pertains to the militia, not as it pertains to you as an individual who wants to protect your house. Now, if you say, Mr. Horn, I think people have a right to protect themselves, I'm not disagreeing with you. They may have that right. I'm just saying that right's not in the Constitution. If you say, Mr. Horn, people have a right to have sex with anyone they want, consenting adults that they want, I'm saying, well, maybe that's true. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying it's not in the Constitution. So if you want that right, then you have to get your legislature, your state legislature to do this. So this is as a originalist, I'm going to tell you, I don't think that the freedom of speech and religion and all that should be applied to the states and the local governments. That's just something that we wanted to apply to the federal government. Each state has their own constitution, and some states had, by the way, established religions when the Constitution was written. And that's a whole other story, how the 10 amendments, the first 10 amendments got applied to the states and the schools and all that stuff. But that's my argument.